All right, what's up, everybody? This is just the guys, the Poppin' Politics after show. We got a little bit of a different crew here tonight, but we're gonna kick it off with some fun. Uh, how's everybody doing? First off,
Doing good.
Good,
I'm
good.
hanging out with the
awesome.
financial wizard of all time, Mr. Tyrone Keys. Everybody like and subscribe his page.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Soldiers of Finance on YouTube.
He is
Awesome.
one of the smartest financier guys that I follow.
Man,
Everybody needs to recognize Mr. Keys and his advice so that we all survive the upcoming apocalypse.
I gotta get some 50s out of the ATM. Give you guys after the show.
When he was saying invest in hard assets, I was thinking to myself, there's a lot of farmland that's being bought up right now.
Hey,
No, Tyrone, my buddy got chickens for me on his farm for meat this year. I had him get extra chickens for me in the house because of what you said.
I love it.
And we got the woman and her mom who clean my house. They do eggs from chickens that we're getting hooked up with.
I love it. Yeah, this is type of stuff we have to start thinking about, and developing different skill sets. Nothing wrong with self-sufficiency.
Absolutely, man. I know where to go. You got some land out there, don't you?
A little bit.
He said he don't want y'all all up on his property. He said, "Get your own.
Get your own." And yeah, welcome
Hey,
to our
actually,
guest
tell us about
tonight.
your YouTube channel.
Yeah, Soldiers of
Actually,
Finance.
tell us about your channel and what you got going on, man.
Channel name is Soldiers of Finance, and what we do on the channel. I used to be a lobbyist for Verizon, and traveled the world. Had a great time with Verizon. Been to about half the states with them. Worked in France, Mexico, and the UK. And so I'm really focused on the merger of policy, politics, and the economy, because they're actually inseparable. And so I like to bring my expertise on, those three areas to the community that we're building on YouTube. Try to give people some insight that they're just not getting from run-of-the-mill media.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. You're just breaking up a little
Yeah,
bit.
you're
I
sounding a little late.
I wish I was home, man. I'm down
I
in
miss
Atlanta right now.
I miss your mic eating. Yes, I miss your mic eating.
Oh, come on,
Someone's
man.
got to say Chad's not here. Black Chad ain't here. Someone's got to send in for him. By the way,
But
we all send
I'm not
our
the mic
warmest
eater, though.
wishes to Black Chad.
I'm not the mic eater though. Hey, so
That's
Gimpy's
true.
always
He is.
yeah. So we got a comment. Why is Gimpy always in a dark room? It's mainly
I'm
because he's
hungry.
white.
I don't want you people to really see my face. You'll stop watching. It's bad enough you got to listen to my congested alien sounding voice for an hour.
Well, it's mainly because I mean I guess you're a white Jew. Oh, that's what I wanted to bring up. You're not.
Too much Sandtown sangria in his comments.
Well, I
just
for there are some people here tonight who are longtime fans, but they haven't watched the Just Guys. They're used to logging in and seeing the ladies. So we've started a program where the guys who are behind the scenes in Metro Conservative, some like Tyrone who are in front of the camera for us, come back. We circle back, go over what the ladies talk tonight, give our thoughts on the piece, and we're just here tonight with a different crew. We brought Action and Tyrone in. They are friends of the network. They work with us. We are happy to have them here tonight. And that's what we're doing here for the people who are new to the Just the Guys experience.
Yeah. So before we get into what the show, you're now officially in like an interracial relationship, aren't you?
I am. I am officially dating it. I am officially in a relationship with a person of color. Yes. I wish we could put that graphic up so people would understand. But like, that's insanity, man. We have reached peak clown country when the explanation that they give is more white people to boot, because they compare it to the Italian immigrants and the Irish immigrants coming in the early 1900s and late 1800s to the United States as a reason why Slavs are people of color.
Oh, okay. That's I missed that boat. I mean,
Oh, so if
okay.
you don't know, Yana is my woman.
Okay.
Well, I'm her man, to
Okay.
be more accurate, since we know the order.
Okay. I mean, hey, if she wants to join it, I mean, what is it? Rachel Dolezal, who is black, and I say everyone was trying to kick her out. I said accept her if she wants to be black. Hell, let anybody be.
Well, according to Black Chad, even though he's not here, I feel comfortable saying this. I am 1/100th of a member of the community as of last time we all got together. So I'm comfortable in that designation.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and get into it, man. It was a fiery show tonight.
No, that's crazy.
Now, like I said, I'm down here in Atlanta, and the power went out in the middle of the show, so I didn't quite catch all of it. But that might have been why the power went out, because it got electric on that show.
Oh, dude. Well, we're a complex group of electronic signals, according.
That's what I heard. And that complexity, I think, shut things down here in Atlanta. The power grid must be super weak.
Dude, that was upset. Look, I have no problem with people's viewpoints. You know, I'm all for intelligence discourse and all that jazz, but like, she literally is saying that things that are core elements of the current existence of the Republican Party are not parts of the platform. Like, she was adamant in her comments in the chat after her segment that like she represents real republicanism. The truth is,
Tyrone, how long have you been Republican?
Since 2001.
So that's 21 years, right?
Yeah.
At what point did anything that she said make any sense?
No, I was listening to it from both the political standpoint. I told you guys, shared with you guys previously that, I like to think about things in a scientific standpoint as well. Now, it's a lot of that going around where, certain folk are saying follow the science, but then they're the last ones to actually follow the science. So as she was talking about the heartbeat piece, I just looked it up, and the Mayo Clinic contradicted everything she said. Okay. So scientifically, she was way off base. She may be one of those plants that the Democrat Party, this came out a few days ago, has been funding extreme candidates on the right. Okay. And trying to get them into positions. So who knows? She could be part of that crew.
I hate to interject. I got to do.
Hold on. If you don't know,
we got to do narration. Yeah, that.
Right now, we're talking about Monica Smearman. She's a candidate for state delegate,
District 32.
District 32. This is her. Now, did she make any valid points at all? Like, action. How much of the show did you catch? Did you catch anything that was of any substance?
Who is that question for?
You, buddy.
Action.
You, my friend.
Oh, okay.
You got to remember your name.
I didn't hear. Anyways, no, I came in on the part where Tyrone was talking about buy hard assets, and then following up when I think she was called a sleeper cell in the she was essentially a sleeper cell. That's the part that I came in. So I personally don't understand how a person can be a pastor. She's a pastor?
No, she's not a pastor.
No,
okay. She was
defending. She's a communitarian and a local leadership icon in her area. So she's very entwined, and she does look. I'm not knocking the lady's character. She does good work. She puts the hours in. There is no reason to doubt her spirit, her warrior spirit, for lack of a better way to frame it. But I just don't agree with anything other than her small government, pro-business stances. When I looked through her platform, I was blown away. In 2022, this is the sort of platform you're going to run to try and flip a blue seat.
Well, that might be the choice. That might be the game, not the game, but that might be the playbook that she's running, is to, have some stances that might be more liberal in the district that is blue, and run on a certain platform to bring people over. That might be the thing that she's trying to do. I don't know.
And I will say this: she is emblematic of the Republican Party being the true Big Tent. Okay, you got to walk a fine line if you are on the left. You got to be dogmatic in that ideology, and you step one toe in the wrong direction, and it off with your head. Yes. So in terms of her chances, I don't think her platform is going to actually appeal.
Well, she has a huge following. I mean, she has a good portion of people that follow her.
She is. She's not unknown in her part. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I did my due diligence as my position as news director here, and I dug through her stuff. I mean, I even was real timing looking up when that John Adams quote or whatever came out to fact check her, and she was wrong. It came out when the Bill of Rights, the Constitution was already done. It's post facto. It's not pre the document, the founding document. But that being said, she is literally part of a movement that's beyond, like, we have two segments, in my opinion, of the Republican Party now. We have the Trump segment, like the what they want to call MAGA, ultra MAGA, dark MAGA, whatever, and everyone else. It's not even never Trump anymore, because she voted for Trump. But Trump is a pro-life guy. He put 3 guys, 2 men and a woman, on the Supreme Court specifically to be constitutionalists that had a chance to, like, let's not deny it. Like, I'm not playing these games. I'm not one of these guys who's going to say, oh, they never intended. The whole point was to take moral swipes at.
Yes. Now, so Gimpy, you've scoured her page and everything, and she's pro CRT, pro
CRT isn't right.
Generally,
to say she's pro because in her mind, it's not the CRT we're talking about. Like, in her mind, it's being open to teaching the true history. Like, so she buys that there's this systemic built-in, that you guys are less than me because you were born black and I was born white, because the system is built to skewer towards you. Like, she literally buys that line, that it needs to be taught to children, that they need to learn about LGBTQIA plus rights. So I want to get Terry in here.
So I definitely want to get Terry in here on that, because his YouTube channel is BRT, which is Black Republican Theory, which is literally a play on critical race theory. So instead of CRT, you're talking BRT. So what's your kind of stance on, I guess, Republicans and critical theory as a whole?
So when you look at critical theory, I think a lot of my views are clouded by, when I think about the libertarian aspect, when I think about the religious aspect, and so that will flaw what the actual thing is. Critical race theory and critical theory is quite literally the power dynamics of different groups, and then when you break that down into the racial aspect, it's like the power dynamics of Black versus whatever major group. When you get to the schools, and like Nicholas just said, Frankfurt School of Communism, when you, and by the way, Karl Marx was a virulent racist, by the way, just throwing that out there. But when you get to talking about teaching this to children, I don't think we should be doing that, teaching children that one race is inherently better than the other. What I'm going to teach to my daughter is not only that she's equal, but also that she can put in every effort within her power to, reach and achieve whatever is her heart's desire. And when we take that away from our child or children, we're kind of killing their spirit, if you will. Now, then there's the religious aspect of looking at race, and whereas God formed us all equally. And I mean, if we're taking that away by saying that one group that Gimpy is the master of all and therefore better, I mean,
thank you. Finally, someone acknowledges my awesomeness.
No,
I thought I was alone.
You're a person of color now.
I know, and I'm dating a person of color. Dude, I'm cleaning up this month. This month is my month, man.
So far as critical theory and critical race theory, I've been kind of mixed feelings about it because, like, if we are teaching our kids to think for themselves, then I think it would be valid to include in curricula if you're examining the merits and actually looking at those as that's not what critical theory and critical race theory is, because it's actually. Oh man, can you hear me?
You're breaking up, but go ahead. You're good.
Okay, so that's not what critical race theory is, because it's now an implementation of a way things are taught versus an actual theory. Like, for example, like when you're studying math, you study the Pythagorean theorem. You can do homework, do math, analyze it, apply it. But with critical race theory, it's actually an integrating system in which things are taught instead of something that we're examining as an academic to study.
Right. So critical race theory in its most basic form is the way of the way it is in academia on a law school way is looking at laws and looking at, well, what were the racial dynamics of this law, what was happening at that time, and then looking at the greater, scheme of things, right? What it has become is, like you said, in a way, like a Trojan horse. You start off talking about race, and then you go talk about all these other topics that I'm sure is going to get me canceled if I start throwing them out there. But you start talking about all these different topics that I feel should only be taught by a parent for their child. I don't want someone to start talking about you're talking about Brown v. Board, or you're talking about the different protests that were happening. There was one case that it was called Walker something. Essentially, leading up to the Selma protests, pretty much all that was outlawed. People still protested anyway, got their hind parts beat, right? They will start talking about that, and then they'll connect it to, for example, Stonewall. And when you start talking about Stonewall, you're now segueing into another topic. That, it's good to know probably, but it should be for parents to discuss.
I will say this. You're starting to sound like a Republican.
Okay, well, it's all well and good, because I don't disagree with any of this, but that's a fine line, because you know me, I'm always arguing, like I'm going to argue the devil's advocate on this one, even though it's not my thing. What defines a parent? Like, where do we draw what is a parent to teach, right? We as Republicans say sexuality should be taught in the home first and foremost before schools get a whack at it. The history, like from a racial perspective, the history of a country needs to be taught first. But then again, schools are filling the gap for empty homes. Like, we all agree that the biggest problem in America right now is the destruction of the nuclear family, right? Yeah. Like, that's at the core of everything. So yes, we can all have these very philosophical conversations about what we should be teaching. I'm not a parent, so I'm not in a position, but I have been a teacher. I've been in education. I've worked with students and everything. And we have these stances, but the problem is the system doesn't matter. This everyday life happens, and you have millions of kids who have broken homes, absentee parents, so we say all this, but that's not going to fix the problem, because there isn't the infrastructure in place to go and do our actions. So that's great that we believe that we should teach CRT, or sexuality. How do we move from this broken state to that state? How do we actually get there where our methodology has real world value? Because right now in this room, yes, all you guys who are parents can do that because you're all active, engaged parents. But if we take a step out of our stream and we look at the world as a whole, that problem is confounded that there aren't Giovannis, Tyrones, and Terrys out there raising their sons and daughters. You have mothers who are more interested in having the abortion to not be mothers, or posting on the internet why they hate their kid and they can't do 13 more years as before they're 18 or whatever. How do you fix that? How do you bridge that gap between what we want and what really exists, as a practical solution to the world? Because
I think school choice definitely plays into that. That solving that problem or challenge. and it's just more involvement from everyone all around. So allowing parents to send their kids where they want to send their kids, having more involvement inside the curriculum, elected school boards definitely help. Particularly in Baltimore City, we don't have that. But it's all about options, because right now we're funneling all our kids through a single system who's trying to work for everyone, but what they're doing is working for no one and indoctrinating with a certain ideology that's supposed to be common amongst all. Also, communism. We can use those prefixes all we want. But I think school choice and allowing parents to choose, whether it's homeschooling, private school, public schools, charter schools, having parents be able to choose that option.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that actually lends itself to a more market-based solution. So what will happen is, you would hope at least over time, once you have enough children migrate out of the public system or migrate away from certain schools to certain other schools, then it'll be a lot more obvious for people to realize that part of the system is actually a complete and utter failure. Okay. I think a lot of people are starting to get that realization right now. The product that you're supposed to be turning out in the public school system is at some point an adult that's going to be economically viable. Okay.
So let's I want to go back there, because you make a great point. Like, what is the product that the school systems are now turning out? And when did that shift, right? Because we talk about before, there was more hands-on homeschool, local based school type education. Now we're seeing more of an industrial teach people to work. Right. So Tyrone, like,
I think
what happened there?
That's a great point, because I think that you started to see that shift after the federal government became more involved with the Carter administration. I heard someone say, and this is a great point, we sent men to the moon without a Department of Education. Okay. So something was going right, right, up until that point. The government is just not situated to run things efficiently. And I always ask people, I say, name one thing that the government runs well. And invariably, people will say the military.
Deficits.
Well, yeah. I would say two things: you have never served, because if you did, you'd know that the military is not the most efficiently run thing. And you really don't have to be super efficient when your mission is to kill people and break shit. So the federal government really doesn't run, it's just not situated to run things well. But yet and still, you got a lot of policy, education policy coming out of Washington, D.C.
Yep.
So I got first one aside. When Tyrone talks with all the diplomas in the background and awards on the wall, it feels so much more official than when any of us speak. I just want to point that out. Okay. Second of all, the Taliban texted me. They let me know that the military is not efficient, and they have $81 billion worth of gear that they want us to know, as evidence to the efficiency of the United States military.
So, real quick, we're giving them $64 million. Okay. I read that today, and I'm like, why can't they just sell a Black Hawk? They got,
what do you mean? They sold them all.
Well,
they're already in dude, forget about the Taliban. The Stingers that we send to frickin' Ukraine are on Yana found me for sale things for them for
$100 billion to Ukraine since 2014, I think it was. It just been $50 billion pretty much in the past year, I want to say.
Dude, he wants $5 billion a month from NATO this week. Like, what plan? When do we? I'm sorry, the government hasn't done anything efficiently ever. It's just not possible. There's too much. They have the EEO office alone makes that impossible.
So let me ask, who's getting wealthy off these transactions? I think that's the big question.
It's not a question. We all know the answer.
No, well, let's tell our audience.
Okay, the people in power.
Yeah.
The people who are making these policies. Look at Nancy Pelosi, who is 500% gains in the. Tyrone is the smartest investor I know in real life, and he wishes he had the portfolio of a third of Senate and 200% of the polio of all of Congress. I mean, come on.
I said this earlier on my channel that when people run for office, they get these offices, right? They don't want the actual goddamn on office. They want the power that comes with it, because with that power comes the power to appoint, the power to investigate or not investigate, the power to fund special programs and projects. And then you don't think that they're going to be taking some money on the side? I'm just going to say there was a former there was a former governor of ours who used to be mayor. And when he came in, he didn't have a whole lot of money. He was just a city councilman from, I think, the 3rd district or something like that, right? When he left office as mayor, to go to governor, he was worth millions of dollars. And it just so happened that our school system was missing about 46 million or something like that in that period of time. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just connecting some dots.
So I mean, you make an excellent point, because it's easy kind of to dismiss a lot of these spending because we're saying, oh, it's the U.S. government and it's spending. It's so big. That's not me. But like when you bring this down to a local level, is this happening locally?
It happens everywhere, of course.
Yes.
We had Plus. Remember the whole thing with Plus? He can't even account for his own contracts. That dude.
But I want to show this, right? I want to show this real quick. So Roe versus Wade just got
Hogan is our governor.
Overturned, and we already see in Baltimore city schools we don't have heating and air half the time. Our school CEO just got a raise. She makes almost as much as the president of the United States at $375,000, and that's her salary. That's not talking about her car allowance, per diem, expense
or
account,
her
all those type of things,
or her severance, because it's more to fire her than to keep her ass.
So let's not talking about this, right? But let's look at this, right? After Roe was overturned, Mayor Scott allocates $300,000 to abortion and family planning services. Where does this money just pop up from?
What do you mean?
Where does this money come from?
Flush, dude, he takes it out of the. They have it. Their budgets are built to have funds like that to allocate that they can.
So it's
discretionary funds, right?
So it's not emergency. A discretionary emergency isn't schools with heating and air.
I didn't say it's not. You're not, dude. Why are we spending $300,000 on enhancing abortion in a state where it's codified into the state's constitution?
By the way, yes, it's codified into our constitution. So nothing will change here in Maryland. Okay,
nothing will change in majority of the places they're protesting.
Yes, and all the Dobbs decision does is punts it back to the states. Our state, it's not going to change. You're going to go ahead and you're going to reach into this discretionary fund, take $300,000 away. And then also in that same press conference, you tell everyone, oh, please, please, please go register to vote and vote Democrat in a state that's already Democrat, by the way. Democrat-led. So, I mean, just follow the logic here. Just follow what the hell is you actually going to do? What are you going to do? The funding for this is already codified into law as well, to support Planned Parenthood. I think that was 2017 that it was pushed into law with veto. I'm just saying.
You're preaching to the choir in this room. But the problem is where do we create the practical? So let's say, for example, this coming Dan Cox wins governor, right? Like, let's say we get over the next few years in Maryland, we get the windfall, we get seats in the legislature. What are they going to do? If it's not guys who are willing to risk their next election cycle, nothing's going to change here. We've had shifts where there have been enough Republicans to change Maryland policy. Nothing happens. Look at Hogan. Even Hogan, in all he'll veto something, they'll overturn his veto, then he'll take credit for helping pass the education bill. Or he won't sign something. He won't risk vetoing it, but he won't sign it. He'll let it go into law without his signature.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're saying, so right now you're suggesting as well that Monica Smearman has the correct strategy to win.
I think no, she's not. No, she has a strategy to win if she wins with it.
Well, let me say to win in Maryland.
Maybe if she wins with it, but she might not even win her primary.
I think that the Republican Party has to be a big tent. And that might not be popular, but I think in order to expand the party, you have to go those different routes. And
so what does a big tent mean? Because I'm hearing this big tent, and
now,
I don't necessarily know what that means.
I think that, for me at least, what that means is liberty in the truest sense. So, okay, we're painted as Republicans as anti-gay, which nothing could be further from the truth. No one's heard of the log cabin Republicans, apparently.
No one's heard of my two uncles who have been together for 20 years. Go ahead. I'm just gonna say
it. We need to be consistent and unify around liberty, because it's insane that the left is labeled as liberals. They're anything but. Okay, they're anything but liberal. And then we also need to, if we can be what we want, do what we want, but liberty and small government, okay, need to be the orders of the day. Okay, now we're never going to agree on religion. So do we really want a theocracy? Okay, we're never going to agree on that. For example, all right, I do believe that a minister or an imam or a rabbi should not be forced to perform any religious ceremonies that are outside their belief system. However, when you talk about the state, capital S, in terms of rights that it grants, you can't very well restrict the rights of some and then grant those same rights to others. The state has tried that, and people that look like us, I'm going to include you in that statement. We have been on the losing end of that. Okay, so liberty, small government, okay, and an educated people that recognizes what the state can and cannot do under those two auspices.
Okay. So
again, Big Tent, that feels so much more official because of those diplomas. I can't. When he does that,
well, the degrees made it official.
It makes it like an official statement.
Those are actually citations.
See, look at that.
He has citations.
They're not official. It makes it even more like people recognize my level of officialness.
So he has citations, degrees, certificates, and he has the USS Dale cap in the back. I mean, I only have picture frames. And
dude, I'm sitting in the dark with the Netflix background screensaver. People think I'm like a troll.
And Giovanni only has a racist wall behind him. I mean,
dude, it's always about white and black with that dude.
I can't even blur it.
Yeah, I think that Big Tent, to my definition, is yes, if we focus on, and I'm always going to say libertarian beliefs, but we get back to, okay, you look at the government, and it started with reading about not even about slavery, but about the Gulf of Tonkin, where the government outright lied in order to get us into Vietnam. And I was thinking to myself, well, why the hell would anybody trust the government ever again after killing so many?
Dude, why do we even got to go that far back?
Well, yes.
Yellow cake, uranium powder. Colin Powell. Look, and I feel bad for the dude that he got suckered into having to be the guy to give that speech. We all know he didn't want to, and he caved because of his position. Fine, whatever you want to feel about that, whatever. But the government lied to us to go into Iraq the second time. And I was in support of that war when they lied to us. But when I found out that I was lied to, that changed my whole perspective on how real that is.
So when we start looking at the government, we say, okay, well, the government shouldn't be allowed to do X, Y, Z, right? And you focus on that liberty aspect of you being able to determine things for yourself. And if that is the basis of your platform, okay, I think you might have some room within the party. But if you start talking about encroaching on further and further and further, then you gotta start looking at somebody a little bit sideways. I've seen the other side. And I've been a part of the other side. And so seeing it, I'm like, okay, I don't want that. Tyrone mentioned this earlier. on the other side, you have to be a purist in everything. You have to believe and check every box. And
well, that's the same thing they say about this side, though. That's the same thing. Like
that's what Monica's saying about us.
Yeah, I don't think
I don't agree. I don't agree. And the reason being is that, you know, some of you might follow me on Twitter. You know, I share things about reparations all the time. Oh, yeah. Now, I know not any of the other Republicans will say that, but hey, I happen to believe that if somebody will give me some money, hell yeah, give me some money. Especially on some shit that didn't happen to me directly, give me some money. But
you're talking about reparations.
Owe me the money.
And so you know, but not many other people, or, you know, if we're going to a serious light, like seeing the damage that government allowed to be done on the basis of skin color, and providing reparative justice for that. Okay. But others might not.
On that point, though, I think the only one that need to be providing reparations are Democrats. So on that point, the only people that need to be providing reparations are Democrats.
I told you that. I told you that. I said and all victims of Democrats need reparations. That's it.
That was a great one. Yeah, that was a good one. So wait, so we got to take a minute out. I'm sorry, we just got to do this because we've been on live for a few minutes, so we got to take a couple minutes to do some identification. So first of all, before we go any further, if you haven't read it yet, you need to read now. Color, Communism, and Common Sense.
Yeah, the link is in the description of the video.
Yes, use the link to buy it, help support the channel. But that's the #1 book at Metro Conservative Media. If you haven't read it, you should read it. And also, we'd like to promote our buddies, the Tuttle Twins, with their books. Today, we took the food truck fiasco as the, I guess, the representative of the series. I can't come up with the right word at 10:30 at night. But the example. But guys, use the links, buy the books. These are great for your kids. They'll teach you everything from good moral upstanding to finances. The series grows. They even have a subscription service. Check it out. Really, all the parents out there, if you want alternatives to the bullshit they're feeding your kids in public school, the Tuttle Twins is a great place to start.
Good summer reading, too.
Excellent summer reading. I also have to do, again, I have the congested alien voice, not the Barry White Black Chad voice for the thing, but check us out, metroconservativemedia.com. Check us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Like, subscribe. Feel free to support us. We have a PayPal link, right? It's a PayPal link. I am shameless in promoting ourselves. Tell your friends, tell your mother, tell the guy in the hospital next to you while you're waiting and listening to this. We have podcasts through Anchor FM. We have the 8:30 show on Thursday nights, Poppin' Politics with the ladies on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock. We have Just the Guys afterwards, and Great Thoughts Matter.
It's a lot of stuff we got.
Yeah, we do.
Just
we have
follow us on Metro Conservative Media.
Exactly. And just follow that the boss man here is the genius behind it all.
Yes.
Oh, man. Man, I appreciate it.
He just doesn't. He's very modest, people. So, like, I go out of my way to make sure we give credit to Giovanni, because all this wouldn't be real if we didn't have Giovanni motivating us to make shows and quality content. Check us out. Like, subscribe, tell all your friends. And your crazy uncle will definitely love us.
All right on, man. So I want to shift gears for a second because we got some breaking news today. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but R. Kelly has been sentenced to 30 years.
Yeah, he got 10 more years than Ghislaine, whatever, Henry,
Giselle
Epstein, whatever, Ghislaine Maxwell woman only got 20 years.
Well, I mean,
so what's your immediate reaction to this? Like,
I say good.
News? I finally caught up with him. They've been chasing him since I'm a kid.
Yeah, I say good, but that's not going to stop me from listening to his music. I mean, shit, I've been stepping in the name of love since I was a kid. So
he lost me with the whole trapped in the closet thing.
Yeah.
That just went off the rails. I'm like, we're a long way from public announcement.
Have you ever urinating on 16-year-olds? To be fair.
Yeah.
Tyrell, do you have any like musician clients, like real musical clients? Have you ever had to deal with them, or has your wife ever like sold a house or in real estate?
You know, it's funny. That's part of the beauty of owning your own business. I tend to stay away from folks with certain personalities, you know. Well, I'll just leave it at that.
You're a beast, Tyrone. You're a beast, man.
Yeah.
Look, I'm
Check it
telling you,
out.
like, if you ever worked with like artists, like their talent is unmatched, but the sanity is also
It's not there.
unmatched.
Okay.
Like it's I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic. So when you hear some of these like really famous and popular artists, kind of their vices come to the life, like you're like, it makes sense, but you know you hate to see it. You hate to see
Yeah, well,
it.
you know, they say never meet your heroes.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
And
But
then
I do want to ask this about the R. Kelly stuff, right? How do we I guess justify sending him to prison when we're in Pride Month and they have all these, you know, let's say there was the Naked Bike Week in Missouri and Portland, and they're literally exposing themselves in front of kids and also pushing a lot drag your kids to drag. How are we
And
saying that like R. Kelly's done, but all these
One's
people naked in front
inclusivity
of
and one's pornography.
and you have politicians here in Maryland, right, going up to children at Pride, which let's just be honest, it started off as saying, okay, we are different and we've been ostracized by society, so we're going to celebrate our difference, right? And now it's become in some cases an outright sex fest, and I could say that there are some people of the Pride community who is not supportive of it being a sex fest. But when you have politicians who go to these events and they just go out of their way to go straight to the children, they go say, hey, how you doing? You don't like, it doesn't register in your mind that this is in part a sex fest, like a celebration of what we like to, people like to do. Nobody's like connecting the dots on that.
Well, this is a conversation. Hold on. So this is something has to do with abortion, LGBTQ. I was having this conversation earlier today with Yana, with other people too. But we have to stop treating sexuality as a zero-sum game. Mm-hmm. That's what we do as a culture, as a society. We treat it as a zero-sum game. In abortion and LGBTQ rights, it's this concept that sex should just be allowed to be had for having fun. So yes, we should be allowed to engage in our version of sexual encounter, gay, straight, whatever, with no consequence and no remorse because we want to enjoy it. The problem is even if I give you that argument, that you're entitled to say that, it still doesn't remove the fact that there's still consequence to all our actions. And that's what they're saying, is that we should remove consequence from our actions, meaning a woman should be able to choose that she should be able to terminate her pregnancy because she doesn't want the consequence of having had sex with someone she wasn't ready to have a kid with. The problem is that the minute you start making that exception, it starts applying in ways that you could never imagine in a destructive manner, because you can't say, don't do this, don't worry about the consequences for this because we're going to give you an out, because eventually we're going to start creating outs that don't exist. So now we have an entire generation of women who now believe that somehow being a mother is a problem. It's hampering them. It's hindering them. It's hurting them. We have people not wanting to have kids, not wanting to build families. It's creating a degradation because we want to create this environment where sex can be treated only casually with no consequence. Like there should be no negative impact because sex is good. Even if sex is good, there's still the possibility, no matter how much effort you take, to get pregnant, to catch an STD or whatever. So there's still, the reality can't be separated from the logic used for the argument. That's what I'm saying.
In addition to those, possible STD contraction, having a baby, there's also an emotional component to sexual activity as well. Okay. And making it something that's, so casual and cavalier, we gloss over that. But that remains a part of our human nature. And I also want to point out, I think Nicholas just alluded to it in the comments. You know, we do have to draw a firm, bright line against the hypersexualization of children. Puberty is something that occurs naturally at a certain point. And at that point, people start to decide and define who they are and what their sexuality will be. And that's just a natural process. There is no need to follow Dwayne Wade's example and say that my 3-year-old, I mean, do any of you were you even conscious that you were a being at 3? Okay.
I like my teddy bear.
Right. Okay. So I think we have to draw a very bright line against the hypersexualization of children. Let them enjoy the 12 to 13 years or so of innocence that they get, okay, in preparation for the 70 years of real life that will be foisted upon them naturally.
If R. Kelly becomes an LGBTQ plus or IA advocate, do you think his sentencing will be a little bit less?
He'll get out on good behavior. He'll be out before he.
You mean he'll be suicided on good behavior? Oh, I'm sorry, that's Giselle Maxwell. My bad. I confused. I mean, it's all happening so fast.
Right. And I think that's why Maxwell probably got less time, because she probably has some information that certain people don't want, getting out. R. Kelly, and he's up for another federal trial in August.
RICO stuff, like he's into some grimy ass shit.
Yeah.
Like
they should give him as much time as possible. You're messing with children. And
hold on, be careful, man. You're talking about another black man.
Stop betraying your people on air. What sort of black person are you that you won't toe the line?
Okay.
You gotta be careful, man. You're talking about black people, man. That's my people.
Okay, great. Anyways, with him, go ahead, lock it as. I mean, and keep him there. Especially for the stuff that he has done, especially messing with children, and the fact that he was trafficking them.
Well, the trafficking is kind of interesting in this case because it just says, and this kind of ties back everything too. The trafficking is just going across state line for any immoral purpose. That's how it was defined. So there's a couple of things here. What defines as immoral? How is immoral defined?
Anything that
didn't we give up on morality? Like, wasn't that the whole world show telling us how morality has no place in politics?
That
show that's the law. So Terry, you're a lady.
Well,
how does morality determine, particularly in something like this?
It would most likely be based on like a reasonable person standard, and what if it was before a jury? What does that jury think? They would also, I'm pretty sure, anything for sex and drugs would automatically be in that immoral standard. And then when you bring that to a jury,
sex is included in immoral now. I mean, like we're
with a minor, yes.
You know that in this country we had like morality laws up until, let's say, 40 years ago. I mean, there's still morality laws on the book.
Some states there still are, and the
FCC has lewd and lascivious standards for
what. But do you see how this could get real dicey, real unclear very quickly?
Yeah, I think it's a lot clearer than that though, because one of the statutes he was convicted under, and Terry, you probably elaborate on this a lot more than I could, is the Mann Act. And the Mann Act is, it's codified law. It's very specific. It used to be called the White Slavery Act, and it has some very specific penalties in it for transporting people across state lines to engage in certain sexual activities. So,
again, we are spending all this time talking about R. Kelly, which is fun. I'm enjoying the conversation, but let's just take a minute here to remember not one person in Epstein's black book is going to be a conversation. So how is that? What does it matter what we do to R. Kelly when there are hundreds
you mean Bill Clinton and Bill Gates
roaming around that they could go after that lock and key?
Right.
You mean Bill Clinton and Bill Gates? Well, nothing will happen to them.
I'm sorry. I'm hoping Bill Gates drops dead of a heart attack. His fat ass. Let him hit the gym before he tells me how I should live my life. Eat some crickets. Yeah. Okay. How about do some push-ups?
So speaking of those, man, we're gonna have Tyrone and everybody and you, Terry, back on to talk about the monetary system in America, because when you're talking about Bill Gates, you're talking about Bill Clinton. We're not talking about them as immoral people alone. Like there's a system in place in which there's certain people that are immune to the consequences of the system that we're under. Absolutely. And it's mainly because of the monetary system. So I think we'll save that for another time. But Gimpy, you're shaking your head.
I just dude, that you know how much that infuriates me. That shit, it's ridiculous. We live in a modern day serfdom.
Yeah,
because we took all the guardrails off of society and we started promoting the most backwards ass shit in humanity. We are now at peak clown world, where we literally live in a system where money buys you status in a way that it should not be able to buy you status.
So the question is, why does money buy you status?
Because they fund all the politicians. When Bill Gates,
but the money's not real. The money's not real.
Doesn't matter.
It's
it gets them elected and puts them in power. It doesn't matter what's real or not until
that's the part of the conversation, though, that I would like to explore at some point in time, is because the money's not real. It's all perceived. Like American money has no value right now. And
but no money has value, dude. And then, that's such a sorry. I'll leave it to the
wait until and Tyrone hit on this when he was talking to Popping Politics with the Women, was that there's something coming down the line of the ESG scores. I think it's environmental, social, governance.
Right.
That's going to be soon implemented with people. I mean, it's like a social.
It's already in China.
Score. It's already happening in China. Yes.
Yep.
And so it's just a matter of. There's a book called Woke Inc. Vivek or something. His first name, I can't remember what it is, but the book is called Woke Inc. You'll see how it's happening with companies. Now, every time in that book where you see a company's name, just strike it out, put your own name there. And you'll see what's coming down the pipeline for us. I mean, I know.
By the way, I just like to side note, because today is the Gimpy is Awesome Day. I'd like to feature this comment right here. I gotta, man. It's my month, man. Soon, I'm overtaking Pride Month. We're calling it Gimpy Month. That's it. It's a month to celebrate my awesomeness. I deserve it, clearly.
So I want to shift gears really quick again. Like I said, we got a lot to cover in this show. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. We have Tyrone Keys. He's from Soldiers of Finance. You can go www.mcenow.com. And his YouTube channel is Soldier of Finance. And we also have Terry-BRT. He's black. The BRT stands for Black Republican Theory, and you can look him up on YouTube. He actually has a video that explains critical theory in context, I think, of the law, the way it's taught in law. I think that's the one you did. Yeah. So
law
definitely check him out.
Academia. Yes.
Yep. Absolutely. So I actually want to bring it to Baltimore,
Maryland, in one stream. Just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to bring it to Baltimore real quick, because earlier we hit on something about a consequenceless, or like actions without consequences. So right now, I just wanted to highlight this story. There was an officer last night that was struck and dragged by a vehicle in a hit and run. Did you guys hear about that? Terry, it happened.
And even worse, I drove past the scene because it's right over here near my house. So I saw the 3 blocks that were shut down because of it. But I'll let you continue, because I'll share my thoughts. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, so go ahead and share your immediate thoughts, because go ahead and share your immediate thoughts. Yeah.
When we were driving down, my wife and I were driving down, coming from Date, down Belvedere, West Belvedere, past Sinai Hospital, and then you see this whole scene where they got it shut down. We're thinking to ourselves, well, what the hell happened? police direct us off to a side street because they blocked off, the traffic. And so, you see everyone standing around, and your immediate thought is, oh, someone got shot. It wasn't until, and then we had to go through Woodland Avenue and down through, some other part of, I think that area is officially Woodmere, but Park Heights, right? Go down there to get over to our house over here in Grove Park. Now, that being said, you're seeing the neighborhood, you're seeing the area, and you're thinking, this crap, like, how can we raise a child here? Then we get home, we turn on the news, and we see it was actually a police officer that was hit and dragged for 2 blocks while making a traffic stop. Now, when officers get out of their car, right, they identify your tag. Some officers, they might touch the vehicle to leave their fingerprint, so that way when the car takes off, they could at least be able to track it back to that instance, all this other stuff, right? You have officers that follow the book, and if they were able to at least get to the car and introduce themselves and all this other stuff, I would presume they're following the book. Why are we allowing such lawlessness where you have people who, I don't know, it's either fear or out of just ignorance and being whatever else, allowed to run amok and take an officer for 2 blocks? If you didn't even mean to pull off, which I'm just, Gimpy was talking about giving people benefit of doubt, playing devil's advocate. Why wouldn't you just stop your damn car? Like, why would you? I don't understand how we're living in a city where you don't have consequences.
It's not a city, it's a country, it's a world. We don't care about this. This is one thing without a moral fabric built in.
And then you have officers who really do, and I do see a lot of police officers as agents of the state because, quite frankly, I mean, from a libertarian stance, that's what they are.
That's what they are.
But there are also officers who get up every day just to do their goddamn job, right? And do a good job at it because that's what they joined the force for, and they believe in the cause and everything else. And then you have people who take advantage of that. That's what I'm trying to say, because I'm going to start ranting.
Yeah, but 100%. So there are bad apples in there. But Tyrone, I want to know how you feel about the thin blue line in regards to this, because that's a really good question that we have to start asking. Because as Republicans, we have this platform theory or stance that it's, back the blue no matter what. But the truth is I'm anti-vax mandates. If the cops are coming to enforce a vax mandate, I'm not backing the blue. I'm not backing the blue when they use excessive force. Like, I agree. There have to be limits and restraint, and we have to hold. The problem we have with police is that they haven't held themselves accountable privately.
No, you're absolutely right. And I've often said that you cannot call yourself a good cop if you are not calling out the bad behavior of bad cops. Now, it's funny that we're on the subject because you're right. In terms of it being agents of the state, this has increased in terms of the severity of that concept. If you look at Howard County's police cars, they're mostly SUVs now, and they are like stealth mode. Okay, they don't have the lights on top. They're integrated into the windshield. They're doing everything they can not to identify themselves as a police car. And this is for revenue purposes. Okay. And I think that they're gradually turning law enforcement, it's accelerating into a revenue generating arm of the state. And then they also have this thing where you wonder when police officers are going to sit down and say, wait a minute, I'm being asked to enforce something that is clearly unconstitutional. I'm not going to do that. You cannot convince me that a municipal pension means that much to you. Okay. Maybe it does to some people, but I think if they come to some collective stance and say, hey, wait a minute, we're not enforcing, because a lot of sheriff's departments have done that, okay, have said, I'm not enforcing unconstitutional statutes, but your police departments tend not to.
The sheriffs are elected.
And that's the key. I think that more police chiefs should be elected instead of these appointments. And the final thing I'll say on that is I'll agree with you, Stephen, in that we're not talking about it as much anymore. But who exactly is coming to confiscate guns? You hear that talked about a lot from the left.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Who exactly is coming to get?
They're not coming to get guns. What about when they're coming to enforce lockdowns or social distancing? How many videos have we seen over the last few years globally? Forget about just in the United States. We're just talking about the concept of police and policing in Western society, right? And this concept that we want to support police because they're a fundamental pillar of what keeps society running. But it requires that police understand that their job is to enforce the law, not the politicians' politics.
Right, and let me. I don't want real quick. You've just reminded me of an incident that we had in Baltimore during the height of the pandemic, where there was a church, and they were holding service. Now, everybody in the service was there voluntarily. The pastor hadn't kidnapped anybody and forced them to come to church, and there were like 8 police officers, Baltimore City, that showed up, and you could tell they were uncomfortable with what they were doing. And the church folk just basically said, no crime has been committed. No one called you. You're not allowed in. You can leave. And they were like in a fog as to what do we do? And they eventually did leave. But
what about the pastor in Canada who got arrested multiple times?
Yeah.
Well,
like I'm just saying, like again, but I agree. I mean, it could good and bad.
Sorry, we talked about the law enforcement element. Let's talk about the criminal element of this, because the FOP released a statement regarding this incident in Baltimore, and he says Baltimore has turned into a city I can no longer recognize. We have hundreds, if not thousands, just like the suspect, who are roaming the streets of Baltimore. They will strike again repeatedly, and I pray for good, hard-working citizens and visitors of Baltimore. So the criminals now are attacking the police.
Yes.
How much longer before they're actually attacking the officials, the city officials?
What do you mean? They are already.
They are.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not talking about just the police. I'm talking about the actual officials.
The criminal. We just had a guy who tried to assassinate Kavanaugh.
No, but I'm talking about these locally, because what's happening? It's almost like hold on. You guys ride through the community and see those. Like love is kind, like science is real. Love everyone. There's no such thing as an illegal person. Like the colorful signs, people are putting those signs out in their yard to essentially say, "Hey guys, I'm with you. Don't burn my stuff when it's that time." So it's like the politicians are saying, "Hey criminals, hey, I'm with you. Don't come shoot me." But what's going to happen is no one's safe.
But they do, because what's his name? The congressman got shot at the baseball game. I mean, they are attacking politicians now already.
But that's right-leaning politicians. I'm talking about the left-leaning politicians that are thinking that, hey, we're being nice to the criminals.
There's threats of violence too.
Without revealing names, too many names. There are politicians that have been left-leaning politicians that have been targeted.
Dude, society is crumbling.
Yes.
There is no limit anymore. Like, let's be fair. Like, look, boss, I love you. You know that, right? I want you to be mayor of Baltimore. I'm your biggest proponent for that. Everybody should vote right in Giovanni for mayor in the next mayoral election, because he won't run himself. We should all force him into the role. But that being said and done, the reality is if we're being honest, if all 4 of us are going to take a step back and be brutally honest right now, society is teetering literally on the brink of the abyss. And not because we want it to be there, but because we won't willingly admit how far gone we are. Like, for example, our debt as a country, exorbitant. The fact that we are the body politic of our country is an entertainment business.
Right.
They just had a hearing for hearsay. Testimony that's bombshell, that's here. This lady, they identify her as a senior age. She was 23 years old. Have you ever met? I worked in the government a long time. I've never met a 23-year-old who counts as a senior anything. And this person, and immediately her testimony is being debunked by all these people she's claiming she heard it from. But yet, what do we see today in the papers? Only her side. And even when their own networks and reporters are reporting the debunkedness, the networks themselves are still running as if they didn't previously report that it's being debunked. Like, it is a show for power and profit. Yeah. We live in a modern day serfdom. We have, if we're being honest, it's already beyond the point of no return. We keep telling ourselves that it's not. If we want to fix what's wrong, we have to fundamentally demand that government gets back in line as a whole. We have to stop fighting between Democrats and Republicans, black and white, gay and straight. If we really want to fix the system so that everyone gets a chance, we literally have to stop fighting amongst ourselves and hold the people that are keeping us fighting amongst ourselves accountable.
Yeah, but I think if you look at history, these when societies get to this point, it never restores. It always just evolves into something else. And I would encourage.
That's terrifying.
It is. And I would encourage you guys and everybody watching to access a website called How Money Walks. HowMoneyWalks.com. If you just type How Money Walks into Google, bring it up. And you will see.
I got it, Mark.
You'll look at the map and you'll see the migration from blue areas into red areas. But on the map, it's red to green. And the reason it's red to green is because areas like Baltimore are losing population and tax revenue to other areas of the country. So it's a very detailed map. You can break it down by municipality to see where people are going. So we're already starting to see a revolution. It's economic in nature, where people are migrating with their dollars, with their tax revenues into places that have better economic policies, states that have better economic policies, more stringent criminal prosecutions. Okay, we got a guy running for state's attorney who's talking about, he sent a flyer up here saying, I will prosecute the most violent crimes. How about you prosecute all the crimes for you? Okay. So
I'm sorry, are we in 2022? I thought you just said prosecute all the crimes. That's right. Off the map. Like, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to ban you from our channel. You just spoke. That's total misinformation. I'm gonna jump in before
he said he's not pro Marilyn Mosby. That's what
right. So just take a look at How Money Walks and look at the migration that's already occurring. And it even will break it down to how much adjusted gross income an area is losing every minute.
This is a pretty interesting website.
Yeah.
So hold on. While we're on that, because I think we're getting close to wrap up time, but there's something I actually want to advocate for that speaks just to that very subject. And it's amazing how you talked about that. So people that know me around, I'm pretty involved locally in politics and in the community.
Ex-mayor of Baltimore.
I don't know about that, but there's when I was campaigning, there were several initiatives, that I worked on. If you go to my website, jpforbemore.city, my little campaign platform is still up, and everything essentially, even though I didn't win the election, I said I wasn't going to be quiet. There's going to be things that I'm going to attempt to do even outside of office, to try to achieve the goals of that I had for while I was in office. And one of those goals that I had was to address the property taxes in Baltimore City. Now, this isn't a sexy subject, right? When you talk about taxes, this is not a sexy subject. But there is an organization called Renew Baltimore, and I encourage everyone to go to renewbaltimore.org. And if you're a Baltimore City resident, download that petition. Fill it out. There's instructions on how to do it, because there are specifics on on how to do that. And if you want to just pass them out to your neighborhood association, to your community, that kind of help is needed as well. But this plan right here, when you talk about money walking, that's exactly what's going on in Baltimore City. And there is a way to reverse it, particularly when you address the property taxes. So right now, Baltimore's tax rate is over double of what it is just across the county line.
Well,
you can just go to Baltimore County, and there's some people that live on the same street. And matter of fact, their house is split by the city-county line. And like that's down the street from you, Terry.
You have to.
If you're one house on this street and the next house further down the street, you're paying two. And
there it goes.
Service.
Breaking up.
Go
ahead, Terry. What were you saying?
My internet's cutting out.
No, his computer is what he's frozen.
Yeah, he's lagging.
The only thing I was saying was that in addition to our city rate, you have to add on the 11 cents for the state as well, the state's rate as well. And so, and then, guys, property tax is my area. No one is a real estate appraiser, studying to be a real estate attorney, but also having worked in a real property tax office now he went off the screen completely.
Yeah, I got it.
Worked in a property tax office for 5 years. You look at Baltimore City, you also, yes, our tax system is outrageous. Another thing to look at is the tax sale situation. And when you look at this tax sale, I hope I have, I have the list. You look at the tax sales, most of our properties are actually not homeowners anymore that are on these lists. They're owned by LLCs and out of state or out of city folks. And so they've given up on Baltimore. They've walked out. Their money has literally walked out, and they left an asset there, or potential asset, to just go into decline. So you have vacant houses worth only about $10,000, and the state is depreciating the value of that property year over year, literally taking wealth out of the community. But the major problem is that school funding is based in part on property taxes. And so if you have a neighborhood like McElderly Park, or you have a neighborhood over here like Poppleton or whatever else, they're going to be the schools in that neighborhood and the resources, etc., going to be walking right out the door, to Mr. Keys' point. And then there's something I want to bring up. It's called the Distressed Communities Index. It's on the Economic Innovation Group. You can find it on their website. It shows the opportunity for each group and how bad, each zip code, and how bad things have gotten in Baltimore City, and the decline that's happened year over year, tied in part to the property tax problem that we have, and also the resource problem.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys know this, but there's often these bond initiatives that are on the ballot as well. So right now, Baltimore has a fairly strong bond rating, and generally those are based on the city's ability to collect the revenue.
Right.
And with the amount of properties outstanding, I don't know if you guys can hear me still.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Go ahead. No, he's frozen.
I think we lost him again. He'll come back.
What?
He's not wrong. It's breaking down across the whole the whole property tax system within Baltimore is breaking down. Because of the way
when they make these, what they're doing, when they make these budgets, or at least this is how it happens in some cities, they look at and they project how much they can collect in fees, whether that be from the cameras, the police, the parking tickets, whatever else, right? And then they take the remainder, they subtract that out from what they'll need. They take the remainder and they'll say, okay, this is how much we'll actually need from our property, in our property taxes. Yeah. And then if they can't collect on that based on what they assess the value of your property, they go ahead and you put it up for tax sale the following year. And so what happens to the person who has been in their house for 30 years, paid it off, invested in the community. Well, now here comes the big bad government taking their home and selling it to someone else.
Not even someone else. They're selling it to BlackRock.
Yes.
They're selling it to an LLC.
Because I'm just going to tell you, my wife and I tried to participate in this most recent tax sale. We came in with a good amount of money. And even going up into the double digits in terms of our bids, we were unable to get some of these properties. Okay. It's big hedge funds, the BlackRocks of the world, or a company called Invitation Homes, which got its start or jump start under President Obama, by the way.
I would love to see where the money goes.
There's a lot of Chinese-owned companies buying up property too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's another thing. We talk about enemies of the state and national security, but we let nations that we don't necessarily have the best use their economic strength to buy up property in this country hand over fist.
Yep.
Like at some point we have to pay. Like this goes to what I said earlier. If we're all being brutally honest, we take a step back and we tell the truth to ourselves first and foremost. We have to understand that there's a price to pay for this sort of business with no guardrails.
You're right.
Like the only person who gets hurt are the American taxpayers. The rich and powerful stay rich and powerful. Inflation, like remember when inflation, like the post-COVID inflation started kicking, rich people are hurt more by the inflation. They're hurt. Like, are you insane? If I have $1 million of disposable income at my fingertips, it doesn't matter if gas costs me more or whatever, because it's not like the cost of living for me is ridiculously offset. It's my luxury choices that make my cost of living so high. Right. We cannot keep having a society with no guardrails. This comes back to the sex, to all of it. It's all the same thing. We want a society that doesn't have consequence. We want to be able to do whatever we want, call it personal liberty, and not think that there's a consequence.
Right.
And I'm sorry, at some point the bill comes due. We can't have a deficit like he likes to talk about. I paid down the debt, yet the deficit ticker grows every day.
Listen. That's another thing where they use this sleight of hand. The debt and deficit. The debt is that number. They throw 30 trillion out in front of us, but when you add the unfunded liabilities of Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, it's approaching 200 trillion. And then when they talk about the deficit as if it's the debt. The deficit is only the amount of debt that you're carrying over. Okay. Yeah. It's not the debt. Like Clinton tried that by saying, when I left office, we didn't have any surplus, any debt. You lowered the deficit. Okay. Yeah. And so they play that trick, and Americans, unfortunately, that's why Soldiers of Finance exists, try to educate people into the nuances of how this macro economy works.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and let's get it wrapped up. I do want to ask a question. Which one would you rather do? The crate challenge or Kamala Harris?
I'd rather get hit by a bus. Is that an option? Can I pick C?
No, you can. No, only those two, man.
Oh, the crate challenge, dude.
Challenge.
I'm sorry, I couldn't, dude. Have you seen the Babylon Bee thing that came out where Satan's giving the press conference after the Roe v. Wade got overturned? He goes, "Well, we got some up and coming. We got Kamala Harris. She's got that demonic laugh. It even scares me sometimes." I mean, like, I'm sorry, that woman is the epitome of failing upwards.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, she's Camacho from Idiocracy.
Oh my God. Oh, Hector Macho Camacho. Oh, dude, Mike Judge is so upset that he made a movie that turned into a documentary.
That's what it is.
I call her Comrade Cammy, and no.
Black Republican thought is Terry's
theory. Black Republican
theory. Sorry, my bad.
Let me ask you this: Animal Farm or 1984?
1984.
Yeah, we're definitely living.
We're in it.
Yeah.
We're also in Animal Farm, to be fair.
You definitely have the, some animals are what was it?
More equal than others. More equal than others. So
yeah,
all animals are
definitely
equal,
have
but
that going on.
some are
You
more equal
definitely
than
have
others.
that.
Yeah.
Look, my thing is I have a better one for you: Liz Cheney or Lauren Boebert.
I like Lauren. I like Lauren.
But dude, I definitely tell you this: definitely not Monica Smearman.
I don't know what got KJ so.
You got to go back and watch the show.
You got to watch that, dude. And I don't even have anything about that lady. Like, she seems like a nice enough person. I just feel like she's misguided.
The only thing I saw was her little comment come across the screen, and the next thing I knew it, I got up to go, open the door, came back, and KJ was going off, and I said, "Oh shit, what did I miss?"
Oh, dude, KJ's not wrong about that. Like Giovanni says it too. Like, at some point, we have to put our principles before our politics.
Yes,
there has to be a point where votes aren't as important as the issue, and we're at a point in history where that's just not true anymore. Like, you have people who know they can't win elections, siphoning funds, votes, whatever, and they just use it to impact. Like, the system is just broken at this point. And we as citizens are the ones who are obligated to do something to fix it. Our voices have to be heard, and we have to stop arguing with each other. Like I said, I don't agree with Monica Smearman, but to fight against the government, I gladly stand with her. Because we have to stop that. Like, we have to stop worrying. Like, it's nice that the four of us can sit around and we can all make jokes that I'm 1/100th Black Jew and I'm dating a person of color and all this and get along from it. But that has to be the reality. Like, we have to stop worrying about it, and we have to laugh at it and be like, this is like,
well,
it's
comedians do laugh at
it. Along.
That was the comedian's job, and now they're demonized.
Well, see, that's the thing, is that we can't take a joke anymore.
Absolutely. And this is the generations raised on South Park and The Simpsons and like
Family Guy,
Family Guy and American Dad and like
The Office. The Office was freaking like.
Listen,
can you imagine a movie like Demolition Man being made today?
No,
that's Stallone Snipes movie.
No, none of that. Can you imagine Tropic Thunder?
Oh my God!
How about this? Have you ever heard of a movie called PCU?
She said we're 3 days into filming and we're all 30 days behind schedule.
Dude, but have you guys ever heard of a movie called PCU with Jeremy Piven? So this is something because I'm you know me, Tyrone, I'm a total geek for TV, right? And all that stuff. So PCU is a movie from the 90s. It's like a college thing. It's totally making fun of woke on college, right? But if you look, you can't find it anywhere. It will not be available streaming anywhere. They have it shadow banned across all platforms. The only way to get a copy of this movie is to buy a hard disk of it. Wow. Because they have unified to keep it suppressed because it destroys, like it's destructive to woke ideology. It's all about destroying how this woke mentality. And like, if we live in a society where they can suppress a movie because it threatens their ideological, a comedy, something that we all died. It was a terrible movie, it bombed, but if you saw it, you laughed your ass off at it.
Yep. All right, one more. If your requirement was for someone to stick to the script, Jen Psaki or KJP?
Oh, the new one? Oh my God.
Oh, the new lady. I mean, no, I
would take Jen Psaki over her.
Yeah, I think I'm with Jen Psaki.
No, but the requirement is to stick to the script.
Well, that's true. If it's a requirement.
I mean, Peppermint Patty, because the other one she blanks out, and I think
KGP.
Look, I just got to circle back on that. Okay, that's all I can say is I got to circle back.
No, Karine literally reads.
She does
everything.
She does.
But it's all theater. It's all like I can't.
But she's sticking to the script.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're talking about sticking to the script, she came out day one and was off script and was like, "I'm a black gay immigrant." It's like
she wrote that down. Come on, she wrote that down.
That doesn't make it script. That just makes it that she couldn't remember what she wanted to say.
Right.
She got a Biden prep card.
Never mind.
Sit here.
Oh, what you had to say, Terry?
I was just gonna say, what does who you are sleeping with have to do with your ability to stand behind a podium
Apparently a lot, because she fumbles on every one of those words.
Well, I think
weathermen are more correct than this.
Right.
And, I mean, you're throwing that out as if it's the qualification to be the lead press person for the president. Like, okay.
And I think she just threw that out there to say, hey, Peter Doocy, if you ask me tough questions, you might be running afoul of these 3 little special groups I'm a part of.
So there's something by there's a pastor, Vadi Bakum, and he presented this privileged circle at one of his sermons, right? And it's basically, if you can check off as many of those things, then you're like in this super
it's intersectionality class. But yes, the failing of intersectionality, like the ultimate fatal flaw to the whole leftist ideology at this point, is that it's based on victim and oppressors, right? Yeah. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that one day in the near future, the progressive left takes control over all of government. Let's just, in theory, automatically it leaves a vacuum. There are no more victims left to complain, right? The victims now have become the power. Instantly, a new group will assign themselves the victim role, and you have the whole cycle starting over again. So you've accomplished absolutely nothing. So you'll get your way, you'll be in power, but all you'll do is go back to square one. You will have
Isn't that what happened already, though?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, this whole concept that you progress in a cycle based on checking boxes. Like, the whole idea is to make instead of coming up with good thought, good ideas, meritocracy. Like I heard, at my day job, right? Because this doesn't pay me, so my real job, like the rest of us have. I was told this week by one of my bosses that the reason why my company likes me is because I have the right attitude for the company. I might not have all the technical proficiency they need all the time, but I'm the guy that go learn this. I'll go learn it and do the job they want me to do. They are so blown away that I'm amenable to that lifestyle there. That I don't need a job description. You just tell me what my next project is, and I go do it. I study, right? Because it seems no one's willing to do that. How is that? Like, you want to survive or get ahead in life, you have to work hard. And even then, it's not a guarantee. But you can't minimize. Like, I'm only willing to do one step of a 20-step process, and you still need to pay me. Or that showing up is why I get my paycheck, right? Like, we live in a society where this is the norm now. This is what I mean. Like, we all are reasonable people living the reasonable life. But if we take a step back and are brutally honest, it's not going on around us. It is not the norm. The norm is everybody. Amazon employees, open letter. You shouldn't do business in states that have okay, you're right. As an employee, you have a right to ask your company, but in all honesty, you have no right to leverage your company. You don't want to work for a company, then go get another job.
Yeah, I don't understand where you have, and this goes to the ESG thing, where you have companies who are now weighing in on these social issues, whereas companies' most basic, they're supposed to turn out a product in order to create profit for their shareholders. That's all. And yet we've expanded that, or we've allowed it to be where companies can now slowly creep into the social sphere.
United.
Yeah,
well, it's also this idea
person status.
Well, it's also this idea that because you're a major company, you have a quote unquote platform, right? This idea of a platform is really what these activists are trying to leverage. Oh, you can reach, it's just marketing. Oh, you can reach 1 million people because you have 1 million customers.
Their own bullshit, man.
Right. It doesn't matter. It's just saying, hey, I'm oppressed. I'm oppressed. I don't have the resources. You have to listen to me. Make my voice heard.
Look at Disney, okay, and look specifically at their Star Wars and Marvel franchises, okay? They continually run this stuff into the ground, golden gooses that they are just murdering for the sake of the agenda, all right? Disney stock is down. Star Wars is laughable, okay, at this point. Marvel is a shadow of what it used to be. shout out to Blade, started that whole thing. Wesley Snipes proved the concept. But they don't. They act like they don't care. Like the agenda trumps shareholder value.
Of course, because they think if they bang us in, I think you've said it before, Giovanni. You repeat the lie enough, it becomes the truth, or what? Like you said that. Forget about that. How about Kellogg's? You talk about Disney. Disney is an entertainment platform. They actually are a platform in a sense because they produce. But Kellogg's, remember, during 2016 election, they pulled all their advertising from conservative outlets, starting with Breitbart, saying that that's not their customer base, that they don't need to advertise that because that's that. So they basically said half the country isn't an important consumer.
Picking winners and losers, man. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up. I want everyone just to take a second and come up with their own final thought. It could be about anything, just about random. Just 1 minute, what you got to leave with the people. And it could be anything that you just want to say, something you want to get off your chest. So we're going to take 30 seconds.
So I'll go first.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
My closing thought is I want to take a moment to recognize how blessed I am in my life and the gifts that God puts in my world. Not every day is easy. Not every day is perfect. But in this craziness of a world, I have a woman that loves me. I have family that loves me. I have friends and professional associates that I think highly of me. I think highly of them. And we talk a lot about what's wrong in the world and tonight, but we should, I want to take a minute and say that it's a privilege that I get to sit here and have intellectual discourse with three of the smartest dudes I know, some of the people who are changing the world every day. And that's a blessing. And I never forget it, that I have those blessings in my life and that God looks out for me. And I feel bad for people who don't understand that connection of God in their life and recognize the blessings that they're given, because we all have struggles and suffering. Life isn't perfect for any of us, but we all have blessings, and we need to take a moment every day. And this is my moment today to recognize that I'm a blessed individual and surrounded by other blessed individuals.
Right on, man. Appreciate that. Who's next? The battle of the two T's.
Go ahead, Terry.
Okay, well, first, number one, yes, thank God for everything. And I shared this a bit before we got on about, just personal life stuff, as particularly in this past month. God has served right on time. We'll put it that way.
Amen.
Now, that being said, I think that everyone needs to get active in their local elections and on the state level. I think it is clear that the Supreme Court is going to be pushing a lot of things back to the state in this next era. Okay. And as long as we have a conservative majority, it will be the states that will be deciding a lot of issues. If you like the way things are going, if you don't like the way things are going, either way, get involved in the state level, because states are laboratories of democracy. I mentioned this earlier in a video that Vermont had they tested out universal health care, and they saw how much of a failure it was there, right? But we wouldn't have a proven model if one state did not at least try it, right? And so get involved in your state, and whatever, if you're running for dog catcher or wind thrower, just still try to get involved so you can create the change that you want to see.
I know.
Or else you're going to be a guy ranting on YouTube like I am, and with your wife ignoring.
They're not rants; they're educated statements.
Awesome. Yeah, make sure you check out Terry's channel, Black Republican Theory, right there on YouTube. All right, Mr. Keys.
I kind of want to echo what Terry and Stephen said. I'm very grateful to be able to participate in a dialogue with intellectually focused men. It's a lot of emotion out there these days, but this forum, I think, is very valuable. Metro Conservative Media is putting together some good stuff, so very thankful that I was able to be a part of this evening. And again, I would just encourage everyone to take a look at Soldiers of Finance on YouTube. And if you're so inclined, just hit that subscribe and if you have anything you want to, want us to delve into, we'd be happy to. So hit us up. And again, I thank you guys for inviting me this evening.
Absolutely, man. Good to have you.
And I just want to plug, before we go one last time, we got to plug the Tuttle Twins and our favorite book here at Metro Conservative Media, Color Communism and Common Sense.
It's the playbook. It is the leftist. It's the playbook. But finally, I do want to say I recommended it. We have a little chat that we have going on. And Terry, let me know if you want to be added to it. It's just a little guys chat that we have.
Sure. Y'all got to get ready for inappropriate comments and pissed off.
It's all right. It's all right. Black chat in that chat. We have all the inappropriate comments.
You're not ready. Look,
y'all ready? I went through my sangria and this.
You're not ready. You're not ready.
Sangria.
So look, there was a movie that I recommended this week in the chat. It was called The Revolver. Yeah. It's Jason Statham, Ray Liotta,
Guy Ritchie movie.
It's a Guy Ritchie movie. Andre 3000. By the way, Andre 3000 is like probably one of the world's most underrated actors.
Oh yeah,
I think he's amazing.
Oh yeah, he's great.
But what I got from that movie is to just check your ego. We believe so much into a lie on the external that we forget to look inside and ignore essentially everything that we've believed about ourselves to be true. It's all a lie. That little voice that you've told that talked to you in your head, that told you can't do it, that told you can do it, that told you you're not good enough, that told you you're too good. All of those things, that little voice is your ego, and it has to be overcome. And when you watch that movie Revolver, it makes that message so extremely clear, and it's entertaining. I recommend everybody check it out. It's an old movie too.
Oh yeah,
back in 2005, 2007, somewhere back in there. Mm-hmm. But check it out. Check your ego. That's my message. Is check your ego.
Dude, without ego, I'm nothing.
Yeah. But guys, thank you all for joining us tonight on Metro Conservative Media, Just the Guys show. And we're the Pop and Politics after show. So we cover the ladies show before and then get into whatever we talk about. But again, we do this show generally at 9:45, 10 o'clock ish. Just subscribe to the channel. You'll see when we go live. But the ladies show, Pop and Politics, airs at 8 o'clock every Wednesday. And 8:30 on Thursdays, we have the 8:30 show, which covers people's conservative journeys. I don't think we have Tyrone. We haven't had you on that show yet, have we?
No.
And
I would love an 8:30 show with Tyrone.
And BRT, we got to get you on that show too.
Yeah, I ain't ready.
So that show really explores people's conservative journeys. So if you're a recent walk away, a long time walk away, you want to understand why Black people become Republican, why white people become Republican, why anyone is a conservative or Republican. That is the show where KJ breaks that down. But
Stop being ultra MAGA. Stop being ultra MAGA.
But again, subscribe to Metro Conservative Media. We're putting forth all this, content for you. Right now, we have over 200 videos, thousands of likes, thousands of views, and we're just only looking to get stronger. And quite honestly, I'm looking to grow with these guys right here. Tyrone with Soldiers of Finance, and Terry with Black Republican Theory. So let's get it, guys.
I do want to throw this out. Just one thing. I was a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago now. Giovanni knows about this. I was protesting over grass. Okay, the city refused to cut the grass. Giovanni showed up, man, literally just to walk around the property with me at a school and to bring attention to this issue. If you could, this man is on the money with the things happening here in Baltimore. I just want to throw that out.
Dude, everybody in this room knows that the man who should be sitting in Mayor Scott's chair is that guy right there. Mr. JP is great. He's the only one in the room who doesn't think it, but the rest of us do, man. Yeah. This is the man who can save Baltimore, whether people realize it or not.
Well, we're working on it, man. It's a team effort, and we're already doing the work, right? This is part of it. We got the lawsuit that's filed against the schools. We got this city petition, and there's another petition that we can talk about next week that I'm the president of the organization. You know, it's for term limits and recalls in Baltimore City. So we're doing things to change Baltimore. I think, Gimpy, I've shared this with you. You know, I don't necessarily aspire to be the mayor of Baltimore City. That's not my goal.
Doesn't mean that you're not the right guy for the job. I keep telling you that.
But I do want to be a person that is able to say, hey, this is something that we've accomplished. We accomplished it together. And ultimately, the power has been returned back to the people where it belongs.
Brother.
And, you know, that's essentially my my mission there. So,
yeah.
Let's get out of here, guys.
All right, guys. Have a good evening.
Good night.
All right.